We certainly hear a lot about polls during these political campaign days. One indicates this candidate is ahead, and another one shows the other one ahead. And then all the variations are what the reactions in so many key states or districts. I wonder how they might react or spin the statistics cited in today's gospel regarding gratitude. Only 1 out of the 10 lepers cured by Jesus returned to thank him for their cleansing. That's only 10% of the total number. That means 90% declined. We all have reason to suspect, perhaps even from our own experiences, our own neglect, that this low appreciation rate may approximate a real-life situation, although there probably is some margin of error that today would somehow be applied. Thanksgiving, thanking God for favors is, and I think we sometimes forget this, Thanksgiving really is a form of prayer. From the Bible, we can discern 4 kinds of prayer, certainly Thanksgiving. But the first one, the easiest one to remember, is one we hardly ever forget, in fact, especially in moments of tension or crisis. That's petition, asking God for favors. That's the one that was most familiar to us and the one we most often pray. And this would be probably one in which the pollsters would find a reverse sampling. 90% of us use this form of prayer. Another form is adoration, giving praise and acknowledging our dependence upon God. This is not just prayer before formal exposition of the Blessed Sacrament and benediction, but it may be a brief prayer or acknowledging a feeling of smallness or awe before God when we see a spectacular sunset, for example, or the grandeur of a mountain. And then there is contrition, expressing our sorrow for something we've done or neglected to do, for sin, our disgust for sin and falling into sin, and resolving not to commit sin again. All of these forms can be found in the perfect prayer that Jesus gave us, namely the Lord's Prayer, the Our Father. In today's Gospel, note how all 10 lepers did not hesitate to voice their petition. Jesus, Master, have pity on us. They even called out in a spirit of adoration and contrition, calling Jesus Master. And they kept their distance when calling out. Remember, people at that time believed leprosy was contagious. They also believed it was a punishment from God for some wrongdoing. But after being healed, only one came back to thank Jesus for the healing. And he was a Samaritan, an alien, like Naaman in Assyria in today's first reading. Naaman went out of his way to register his gratitude for God's good gift. He even loaded up 2 wagons full of dirt to take back with him to Syria so that he could always stand on soil from Israel when he worshiped the Lord our God. Now, that dirt probably didn't mean anything terribly special, but you know, it's not that odd. I have a rosary here that I had gotten in the Holy Land when I was in the pilgrimage there a few years ago. And in the metal portion of it, there's a little capsule on the back that says there's earth from Jerusalem. And it's a wonderful keepsake and a lovely remembrance. And the other day I was talking to a man who said he got a gift of a crucifix, a cross. And in the lower part of it, it was filled with dirt from Gethsemane. Now, does that make our prayer or our adoration any better? Certainly not. But is it a beautiful remembrance of that holy place where we maybe were, or that we hold very dear? It does. And in that respect, Naaman was trying to preserve that feeling. He was going to worship on the soil of this God of Israel, our Lord. When was the last time that we thanked God for his presence in our lives? Really thanked him. Yet we have so much for which to be thankful. We know the true God. We know that God has revealed himself in Jesus, that Jesus lives in our midst and will never desert us as long as we hold firm to our faith, as Paul reminds us in today's second reading. If we are unfaithful, he remains faithful, for he cannot deny himself. God is always faithful to us. God always loves us, even when we may reject him. You know, it takes a lot of faith to believe that about God. But on the other hand, in last week's gospel, we heard that we only need faith the size of a mustard seed. For a Catholic, the subject of gratitude can hardly be mentioned without actually thinking about the Eucharist. Eucharist being the word with a Greek derivative that actually means thanksgiving. Has going to communion become a routine act of worship in our life? Can we remember the last time we made a sincere effort to express heartfelt gratitude for so great a gift as the Holy Eucharist? Recall something that we learned probably a long time ago in religion class, back in grade school. Maybe it was even back when we were preparing for First Communion, that we should say a little prayer after receiving communion that was even called our thanksgiving for communion. Even in the few moments of silence we have right after the distribution of communion, it may allow a little time to give thanks, and perhaps that might act as the beginning of a framework of gratitude we may take forward into our everyday lives. I think we need to cultivate the virtue of thanksgiving, beginning with humble appreciation for our Lord in the Eucharist, and then let that spirit of gratitude extend throughout our day and into the week. All we need to do is speak to Jesus in gratitude with one's own heart, in one's own thoughts, in our own words. That would be a beautiful prayer. Let us always strive to be at least among the 10% that come back to Jesus to tell him, thank you.